Hello, good morning. It's 9:45. I'm TK and this is Coach on the Rocks. Lovely to see you here, and hopefully you are starting a wonderful week and had a great weekend too. So today I wanted to, after a short break, thank you for your messages. I'm back. Today I wanted to talk about, as always, something that I found interesting. And there have been quite a few things coming over these few days that I was like away traveling. But the one thing that caught my eye is the former CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt, posting something about the working from home versus return to office debate. Essentially, he said that, well, it's a challenge that people are working from home because we're in this fierce AI competition, and we need to be winning. So there's a balance or sort of a conflict between people's well-being and winning. And then, after receiving a lot of backlash, as it is nowadays in social media, he had to go back and I'm not saying apologize, but go back on his message, make a bit of a U-turn. I could talk about that conflict, but I've talked about that before, and I've got, I guess, no new thoughts on that. But there's one thing that I find interesting, which is how messy this whole process is, how people are going back and forth, and the reason for that is this is what happens when you are renegotiating the unspoken contracts and unspoken rules. So essentially, yeah, the return to office, working from home thing is renegotiating one of the long-standing social contracts, right? You come to the office to work and so on. And like always been like that. No one really questioned it, and now it has changing. Not going into that too much. What I find interesting is how do you do things like that? Because by which I mean, well, how do you behave when the contracts shift? Because they will. There will be many revolutions ahead of us, and it's okay to pretend that there aren't. It's okay to say that we think that everything will stay the same for years as it has in our living memory, but I don't think it's true. We might be on a precipice of another acceleration of things changing in our lives, which is Gen AI. Fine, I get that many are skeptical, and there's a lot of BS when it comes to AI. Absolutely, there is. It's just fascinating to see. It's just like, what the hell are people thinking? But I believe that there's so much investment in it, and if I observe the progress, AI, the fact that AI will take a bigger part and will become another revolution in our lives, I very soon I believe is unavoidable. Now, it will append a lot of social and workplace contracts that have been unwritten and have been taken for granted for years. So, as we are soon to be there, my question is, as leaders, as people in the HR teams, and how do you renegotiate it? How do you surface that? And I think possibly, I would say the time is now to start these conversations. But the way that it's done, in the corporate world, it's not something that happens, right? And because it's an unknown, and because all the communication is so sanitized, if it's done centrally, it is a bit of a challenge. Now, it will probably expose the true nature of your organization, how much you value people. What is it that you value the most? Is it winning, or is it like people you serve? Hard to say. I think it will definitely be something big. And what will happen is you might be tempted to cut people, because I'm sure that AI, or if there's AGI, will be able to significantly increase productivity, and the jobs that some people do will not be um, needed to be filled by a living, breathing person. And the question is, what will happen then? What will we do? And these people aren't, it seems like, I hate the name, blue collars, people working on production lines. No. They've had the revolution already. But it is the knowledge worker, the creatives, that, this is happening to. So how will we approach this social contract? And I think even if you as a leader, you as a people team, think that it might not happen or you don't know what will happen, it's still worth a conversation internally. It's still worth you thinking about how will you behave in different situations. What does your organization really stand for? I encourage you to reflect on your unwritten contracts. That's the purpose of today's video. Not to act on them, not to codify them, but ask yourselves the difficult questions. What the contract really is. And if it needs to shift, how would you want it to shift? What is it that you really value? Because the unwritten contracts, I think, are just a part of our human nature. But one thing that I think is challenging is taking them for granted and not thinking about them at all. As a leader, as a member of the people team, it's your job to actually notice them. And even if they're unwritten, doesn't mean that they don't exist and they should be ignored. And even if most people do, it's your job to notice them and think about what they are and how they might have to shift. Even if it's a bit of a thought exercise, it is important to reflect. As we always say in Humble Associates, Agile Leader reflects. Now, hopefully, I've provoked you for some reflection on Monday morning, and I hope to have another thing for you tomorrow, as usual, on 9:45. Bye-bye.